Hello, this is Thought for the Day for Friday the 2nd of October, and today we're looking at Psalm 7. And my name is Pam Cribbin. And before we read today's psalm, today we're given some background to this psalm which might help us to understand it. It was written by David and it concerns a man called Cush, a Benjaminite, who had acted unfairly towards David in some way. Although we don't know exactly what he did, it's thought that in the days when Saul was king and David was the shepherd boy who was becoming more and more popular, having killed Goliath, Cush might have helped to incite Saul against David and convince him that David was a threat to him as king. Cush and Saul were both from the same tribe, after all, the tribe of Benjamin. We do know that Saul did come to see David as a threat and tried to kill him, with the result that David had to flee for his life, having done nothing wrong. How would you feel if you had to flee from your home and family because someone else had spread lies about you and now your life was in danger? Perhaps that background will help us to understand why David feels as he does. I'll read the first few verses. Lord my God, I take refuge in you. Save and deliver me from all who pursue me, or they will tear me apart like a lion, and rip me to pieces with no one to rescue me. Lord my God, if I have done this, and there is guilt on my hands, if I have repaid my ally with evil, or without cause have robbed my foe, then let my enemy pursue and overtake me. Let him trample my life to the ground and make me sleep in the dust. So we see at the beginning of this psalm that David really is in a very difficult and dangerous situation, and he literally has nowhere else to turn apart from to God. And then he asks God if there's any way in which this situation can be his fault. If so, he'll take the punishment he deserves. But if not, let God come and rescue him. He goes on to say, Arise, Lord, in your anger. Rise up against the rage of my enemies. Awake, my God, decree justice. Let the assembled peoples gather round you, while you sit enthroned over them on high. Let the Lord judge the peoples. Vindicate me, Lord, according to my righteousness, according to my integrity, O Most High. Bring to an end the violence of the wicked, and make the righteous secure. You, the righteous God, who probes minds and hearts. As we've often seen in the Psalms, David brings his desire for justice to God, and we can do the same. We might find David's prayer in verse 8 rather strange. Vindicate me, Lord, according to my righteousness, according to my integrity. You're not perfect, David. What gives you the right to ask God to vindicate you according to your righteousness? Well, although David was a long way from perfect, as we are, in this case he was still the victim of injustice and unfair treatment. God's standard is justice for everyone, whether or not we think they deserve it, whether or not they think they deserve it. So having made his passionate plea for God to rescue him, vindicate him, and bring about justice, what is David's next response? It's to show his total trust in God. Verse 10, My shield is God Most High, who saves the upright in heart. God is a righteous judge, a God who displays his wrath every day. Although nothing has changed yet in David's situation, and maybe he's going to have to stay on the run for quite a while, he's absolutely confident that God will act justly. The illustrations in the next verses of what will happen to people who set out to cause trouble are very vivid. Whoever is pregnant with evil conceives trouble and gives birth to disillusionment. Whoever digs a hole and scoops it out falls into the pit they have made. The trouble they cause recoils on them. Their violence comes down on their own heads. Once again, this psalm is offering us a choice. I suppose you could ask, what am I going to be pregnant with? What thoughts am I going to allow to be conceived in my mind? And what plans of revenge am I going to make towards anyone I feel has wronged me? We've probably heard many times that if we hold a grudge against someone, if we want to get back at them, however deserved it might be, the person we end up hurting most is ourselves. David knew what to do with his feelings of betrayal. Pour out his heart and bring his case to God, and let God deal with the people who wanted to harm him. Although there's no mention of forgiveness in this psalm, and we don't know what happened to Cush the Benjaminite, we do know from elsewhere that David was no stranger to the concept of forgiveness, both God's forgiveness of him and his forgiveness of others. In my wider family, we've recently become aware of someone being wronged by a person in a position of trust, which has caused a lot of upset to many people. David's reaction in this psalm reminds me that I can ask God to bring justice and help everyone affected through this bad situation. And if there is a similar situation in your life at the moment, someone who's caused harm or upset for no reason, then you too can take your case to God, as David did. And I pray that we'll all reach the place David reached at the end of the psalm, even though his situation wasn't yet resolved, and ours might not be either. I will give thanks to the Lord because of his righteousness. I will sing the praises of the name of the Lord Most High.